Will the Brewers make any more moves? Or like in the movie Hoosiers, when the coach says, "That's my team out there." Is that where we're at with the Brewers? Anything else? We'll get to all that coming up next here on Locked On Brewers.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, the Brewers made the moves that we thought they were going to make. We knew Devin Williams was not coming back, and Willy was going to be gone. Two all-stars gone from the Milwaukee Brewers. When I say all-stars, Willy, but one of the better shortstops in baseball this past year. And, of course, Devin Williams, even though he didn't make the all-star team, he's been an all-star before. So the Brewers got worse so far here in the offseason. Let's face it. And are they going to do anything to you can't replace those two guys, but you got to get better here in the offseason. I think the Brewers might be standing pat. We'll talk about that coming up here in a little bit. Chuck Freeman, longtime sportscaster here in the state of Wisconsin, longtime Brewers fan, number one Brewers fan. Brewers, my favorite team here in the state of Wisconsin, obviously. And I watch them very closely. And I love the hot stove talk. I wish the Brewers were involved with some of these other players that are still available in the free agent market. The truth is that they just can't because of financial considerations. But if you look at the Brewers right now, their payroll is going to be right around $118 million. That is slightly up from the $116 that it was reported last year. So the Brewers are basically not spending any more money. They're going to lose the Bally money next year. That money, they're going to lose that. So you could argue that Mark Attanasio, despite losing money, is not paring back payroll. He's still going to spend the same, even though he's not going to have that Bally money coming in his place. Well, I guess that's the good news. But the Bally money, that's not our problem. That is not our as a Brewers problem. As fans, that's not our problem. Okay. They should have known a long time ago the direction that was headed. Bally was headed. We've known that they've had financial problems for the last couple of years. So Major League Baseball is going to take control of the television side for the Milwaukee Brewers, and they're going to lose that Bally money. That is disappointing. I don't know. You would think that they would have been better prepared for that. But maybe Major League Baseball just wants to take all this in-house anyway. Maybe that's the route they want to go. We'll take that direction a different day. But as far as the Brewers are concerned, they lost two terrific players. Okay. Devin Williams, one of the best closers, probably the best closer in baseball. Okay. And now you look at who the Brewers have, and some of you will say, well, Trevor McGill is good. They're going to be just fine with him. I don't know. I mean, not that McGill does not have the capabilities of closing out games, but I wouldn't go as far as to say, oh, the Brewers are just going to be just fine without him, without Devin Williams. And we're talking about a guy he's got great stuff. That airbender, he's got great stuff. And before you start telling me about those postseason failures, I get it. But still, if you were to choose one guy or the other for closing out a game, it's not A or B. Devin Williams is clearly the man you would choose. So to say, well, we're okay, we're going to be, maybe we'll be, maybe it could work out that way. But again, Trevor McGill has never been an all-star, and he's never put out numbers quite like Devin Williams did. So that's a big loss. But I think they'll still be all right. Now, that's assuming that McGill comes back and he's somewhat the stopper he was last year when he only blew 2 save chances. I like his stuff and all that, but I'm not there yet with him to say, well, I'm all in as his closer. Did anybody, when the Brewers picked up McGill a couple of years ago off the scrap heap, say, wow, that's fantastic, they got him? No, he'd been bouncing around from a couple of different teams, and he was no longer wanted in Minnesota, and the Brewers picked him up. So, and he's worked out nicely so far. And when he had to go high leverage, it worked out. But I'm still not going to put my weight 100%. And we shouldn't think that, okay, we're going to be just fine with him as our closer. I hope we're going to be all right, but it's not like having an all-star, the best closer of baseball, Devin Williams. Third base. When I say third base, it's because they're losing Willy. Obviously, he signed with the Giants. So third base is going to be an issue with these guys. And I think their knee-jerk reaction, I ran into somebody at the mall the other day, Mayfair, in fact, and one of the security guys there, he said, how do you think aren't the Brewers going to be just fine at third base with this guy they got from in the trade with the Yankees? And I said, oh, you mean Caleb Durbin? I said, well, how many 5'6" third basemen have you seen in your lifetime? I think the sentiment is already this guy's going to come in who's never played a major league inning and play third base right away. I don't know that. He's got to win a spot on the team, first of all. But he's not going to make up for the 32 home runs that Adames hit last year. So, yeah, so far, and I don't want to paint it all gloom and doom, but so far the offseason, the Brewers have gotten worse. The Brewers have gotten worse, and I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I'm a little worried that they're not going to do anything to get any better in the offseason, that this might be the team that they're going to send out there for 2025. They'll move Turang, or he'll keep Turang at second. They'll move Ortiz to short, and who knows who's going to play third base. But I think the odds of getting anybody who's established who's going to be a bopper at third base, well, that went out the window when they traded Devin Williams. Now, I was hoping they traded him to the Phillies. I would have liked, even though he's got some question marks, Alec Baum, I would have been okay with that a little bit over at third base. And again, he's got there's a couple of question marks I have about him, but he would have been a nice option. But I'm going to tell you right now, I think the third baseman going into camp is going to be Sal Frelick. That's my wild guess. They tried him out a little bit there last year during camp. I think he's going to get a shot at it. Right now, there is a crowded outfield. When I say crowded outfield, not really, though. Yelich, Chourio, Mitchell, and Frelick. Okay? Yelich isn't playing every day in the outfield. Okay? And he's still coming back from surgery. Chourio is going to play every day. Mitchell and Frelick. So that's going to always work itself out with those four guys. Those are four bats you want to have in the lineup every day, right? You want to have Yelly in the lineup every day. You want to have Chourio in the lineup every day. You want to have Mitchell in the lineup every day and Frelick. You want to have all four of those guys in the lineup. I'm thinking Frelick is going to get a shot at third base. I mean, who else is playing third base? I mean, Oliver Dunn, I don't like that option. So I would love to see Frelick get a shot at third base. Let him play third base. Athletic, hustler, skilled. Let him play third base. Not the tallest guy, but let him play. I'll take him at third base. He's my option right now at third base. Because let's face it, the Brewers are not making any blockbuster moves. Last winter, going out and getting themselves Rhys Hoskins. Okay, they're not signing anybody to a 2-year, $30 million deal this offseason. It's just not happening. They're not bumping up that payroll. That payroll is going to be right at about 118, and I think that's where they want it. I'm disappointed because as I've always said, I don't see why this payroll can't be upwards of 140, 150. I don't get it. Now, again, the Bally's money they're losing, but no reason why it's not. They're trying to defend the division championship here and get by the first round, okay? Now, as the team stands right now, I mean, I'm not feeling 93 wins again. They have so many things go right last year. So many things go right. The Brewers did. I mean, you look at their execution. Their execution was near perfect. Outthinking other teams, outsmarting other teams, double steals. And when teams tried to double steal on the Brewers or do something out of the ordinary, the Brewers were never caught with their pants down. they were always one step ahead of things. I feel like they were. I feel like they were always one step ahead of everything. Now, the over and under for the Brewers next year, I haven't seen it. I don't even know if one has come out, but I don't think it's going to be 76 wins like it was last year. But I would be surprised if it was upwards of 80. They're going to contend, I believe, because I don't think the rest of the division is all that good. I just don't. Yeah, the Cubs getting Kyle Tucker. It's one of the biggest moves made in the division so far. But who else really in this division? But I'm looking at it more, not just winning the division, but winning a World Series championship. We've been there winning the division, and I'm not saying I take that for granted. But right now, this team still good enough to win the division. Do I see them winning 93 games again? I didn't see last year's team doing it, but they had, again, so many things go right. 17 starting pitchers. Okay. I felt like everybody they called up to do the job did the job. They had a lot of guys step up on that team last year who you weren't counting on earlier in the year. Now, that's tough to repeat. That's tough to repeat. Need Terang to have a better second half of the season. Okay. Need Hoskins to stay healthy. Garrett Mitchell to have a complete season. Frelick to take a step in his game. Contreras is going to be Contreras. I don't even talk about Contreras because he's going to be fine. But losing the 32 home runs and the clutch moments that Adames provided, don't kid yourself, that's a loss. But I would caution you, those of you who think already that Caleb Durbin's going to come in and play third base, that the Brewers looked at that move just because the Yankees said that Durbin had a shot at being their opening day third baseman or second baseman or shortstop, wherever they were. I don't know. Boone said that Durbin had a shot at making the starting lineup on opening day next year, which he said that because he was decorating right there. He was decorating. He was trying to prop him up, his guy up, because he knew the front office was trying to trade him. All right. We come back, talk about some other notes, including Wade Miley wants back. How about that? Chuck Freeman, Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Good to have you on here on Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. You get our podcasts on Google, Spotify, Apple, wherever you download your audio podcasts, we're there. All right. We're not every day in December and January. We get back to February. The podcast will be every day. We're 3 times a week right now here in the off season. And if news breaks, we certainly will be here. We will be here. As you know, if you followed this podcast already, when news breaks, we're right back here in the Locked On Brewers studio, putting together news and commentary on any transaction, any big transaction, especially the Brewers make. Someone who's hoping to be a Brewers transaction is Wade Miley. He's 38 years old. He's coming off Tommy John surgery. Tommy John, according to a piece done on the Milwaukee Journal, in the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, Wade Miley wants to play for the Brewers again. Due back in early May, he says he'll take a minor league deal. He wants to come back for the Milwaukee Brewers. Now, I appreciate that Wade Miley wants to come back and play for the organization and all that, and that he's like ahead of schedule. He's not pitching till May. Would not return until May. Okay, coming off that Tommy John surgery, I get all that. But unless the Brewers are in desperation need, you're not going down the Wade Miley road. I mean, I don't even see how that's a question. Wade Miley coming back to the Brewers. The Brewers already have 6 or 7 guys fighting for 5 spots in the rotation. All right. Younger guys who they traded for, like DL Hall, Brandon Woodruff coming back, hopefully. Guys who you think are ahead of Wade Miley. Now, if things begin to go bad, whereas there's injuries, but a 38-year-old pitcher coming off Tommy John surgery, really skeptical. But good for him that he wants to come back and play. Good for him. At 38, this guy could just retire. He's probably made his money, but he said he'd be willing to come back on a minor league deal. Again, you appreciate that the guy still wants to play ball, but on the Milwaukee Brewers, I just don't think there's any room for him. Not at all. Who is Wade Miley going to be better in that rotation? Who would you feel coming off Tommy John at the age of 38? Who would you feel more comfortable? I mean, again, we're talking about a different Wade Miley here coming off an older player coming off Tommy John. I don't know. Well, I do know. As much as we like our Wade Miley, I don't see there's any reason why the Brewers would sign him. CC Sabathia is one great year with the Milwaukee Brewers. I remember my former partner on the radio, Bart Winkler, said that CC, for his half a season, it was so great that the Brewers should retire his jersey, number 52. It was such a great season. And it carried, CC in 2008 carried the Brewers into the playoffs. Ended up losing to Philadelphia. But CC says, who's he going to go into the Hall of Fame as? Well, he spent 11 seasons with the New York Yankees. That's an easy choice. The only guy I could think of who left Milwaukee and went into the Hall of Fame, the Brewers only have a handful of Hall of Famers anyway, who went into the Hall of Fame as a Brewer was Paul Molitor. He won World Series titles with Toronto, but when he was a first ballot Hall of Famer. When the time came for Molitor to go into the Hall of Fame, he says, I'm going to go in as a Milwaukee Brewer. He played 15 seasons with the Brewers. Even though it ended on a sour note in Milwaukee with Molitor, where he went to Toronto. I think fans understand that a little bit more. Okay. Was it 3 years, $12 million? I believe it was back in December of 1992. We understand that now. Brewers should have anteed up for him. Not that Molitor was going to carry this team to the playoffs anyway, because 93, 94, and the rest of Molitor's years in baseball, the Brewers were terrible. But it allowed him to go to play on the World Series championship team, the Blue Jays. But Molitor did say he would go back, even though he was hurt, because fans were booing him when he came back with the Blue Jays. And I get that. Fans are fans. In 93, 94, fans would be booing him, and he was hurt by that. But he still said he wanted to come back when he got in the Hall of Fame. He wanted to be in as a Milwaukee Brewer, and he did. So, but Sabathia, he wasn't going to go in as a Milwaukee Brewer. K-Rod also on the All-Star ballot, 4.5 seasons here. I don't think K-Rod's an All-Star. Curtis Granderson played here in 2018 on the All-Star ballot. You almost forget that the Grandy man played with the Milwaukee Brewers in 2018, don't you? It was such a limited time. It made big news because Curtis Granderson made the All-Star, was a perennial All-Star. Great player. He was at the end of his career in 2018. But when the Brewers traded for him at first, I was like, man, I'm getting Curtis Granderson? Well, he only played very limited role in 2018. But he's also on the Hall of Fame ballot. We come back, talk about what's going on with Cortez. And Corbin Burns signs with the Arizona Diamondbacks. We're going to have to contend with him for the next couple of years as well. All that is next, coming up here on Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Locked On Brewers, good to have you along. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Again, our podcast, Google, Spotify, Apple, YouTube, search Locked On Brewers. And, of course, follow me on Twitter, Chuck Freeman, FREIMUND. You ever have a question you want answered, feel free to always DM me. My DMs are always open. Just DM me anytime, 24 hours a day. And I can't guarantee I'm going to get back to you within the second you DM me, but I will get back to you. There's no doubt. My lines are always open to you. You great friends. We're all fans at the end of the day, right? I'm in the media, but we're all fans. We're one big Brewers community. If you're watching me on YouTube, you see my my studio here. I got everything back there. All the, I got more moments that's not on camera here of Brewer history, but we're just trying to do what CC did. We're trying to push, pull, and drag this team into the postseason. Once again, it's going to take some work. So I was talking about, there are going to be some guys who are going to have to outperform what they did in 2024 to make up for some of the losses. And McGill is going to have to be solid. Okay, he's going to have to be great. Hoskins is going to have to hit a few more homers and stay healthy. Like I said, Terang is going to have a complete season. Ortiz is going to have to take his game to an extra level. Christian Yelich, by all means, is going to have to be healthy. When he was healthy, I liked what we saw last year. I don't think it was quite as good as he was, a few years ago. He's not back to the player he once was. He's going to be approaching his mid-30s here in the next couple of years. But he's not the player he was back then, even though, the old Christian Yelich back, it wasn't the Yelich that we once saw. Hopefully this back gets healed up and he'll be ready to go. But I think a lot goes for Yelich. Yelich needs to be healthy and put up some big numbers. Counting on him. But again, counting on a guy coming back from back surgery. As I've always said, I never really count on guys completely who are coming back from surgery. Corbin Burnes signing with Arizona. I would have rather had him sign with the Yankees. I'm glad he didn't sign with the Dodgers. But Arizona, a team he lost to in the playoffs in 2023, Arizona gave him that $200 million contract. The unfortunate thing here is, Arizona is someone that the Brewers are going to compete for a wild card spot, or may have to see them in a wild card game. Arizona was in the wild card chase most of the late part of the season. Then he kind of fell in the tank toward the end of the season. But Arizona, it looked like the Brewers were going to face them. Remember, it went down to 162, game 162, and the Mets got in. And Arizona got bumped out, or the Mets beat the Braves in that first of a doubleheader on the Monday before the playoffs were going to start, bumping Arizona out. But Arizona, they got better by getting Corbin Burnes. And that's a team now you got to look over your shoulder with. Not that you didn't with Arizona, because even they're not the same division, but you're in the National League. The Phillies, the Dodgers are the two benchmarks of the National League. I think Arizona, by going out and getting Corbin Burnes, they're going to be in the conversation, even though the Dodgers have got a stacked team in the National League West. So, God, I was hoping Burnes was going to sign in the American League. I'm glad it wasn't with the Dodgers in the National League, but American League, who knows with the Dodgers? They could have spent some more money there. Cortez picked out his jersey number. He will wear number 65 with the Brewers. He'll become the first Milwaukee Brewer ever to wear the jersey 65. I don't know why he's choosing it. I wouldn't exactly go out and get a jersey or a jersey that says number 65, because I think Cortez is a one-year rental. But he'll wear number 65. And hopefully Cortez can stay healthy throughout the rest of the season. All right, that's going to do it for Locked On Brewers. Again, appreciate it, everybody. We got a lot of downloads. I'm telling you, even though it's the off season, sure, we take a little dip in the off season because we're not day to day recapping games and analyzing things. But still, we got 2 more months left in the off season here. Well, about a month and a half. And I'm really, like I talked about at the top, I really hope the Brewers are going to make a move or two to get better. I'm not holding my breath. I'm kind of worried again that this is going to be it for the team, that this is the team that they're going to send out there. This is what we're going to see for 2025. And missing the production of Willy Adames and the production of Devin Williams, man, don't kid yourself. That's a big loss. Right now, I'm still picking them to win the NL Central. When we do our preview show coming up here in about a month, man, you believe that about a month? Yeah, beginning of February or so, our spring training preview. Spring training opens up middle of February. That'll come in no time. No doubt about it. So, hey, thanks for making it your first listen to every day on Locked On Brewers. Your second listen, go check out Locked On MLB. My guy Sully has got all the offseason moves. I'm an occasional guest there in the offseason, rapping with him and talking baseball with him. So Locked On MLB, make that your second listen to every day. Again, follow us on YouTube. Please subscribe. Our growing YouTube page, Locked On Brewers. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. That'll alert you every time we drop an episode. You're on Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Talk to you tomorrow, everybody.